Bavalia Musaldacha gus Shiaght Laa, She Robert a Carslach Mish. I'm Bob Carswell and I'd like to welcome you to Shiaght Laa. In Shiaght Laa this time, Sachormach George is Shiaght Laa. La Bardach and Tale, plus Queg. World Poetry Day, plus 5. World Poetry Day was the 21st of March, and the Isle of Man Poetry Society has an event this very evening, Thursday the 26th of March. Ounder Blaenoil Son and Gilg, an annual award for the Manx language. As Shan Recortus, an old recording praising the island as Manxland. In Shiaght Laa last time we heard from former chair of the Isle of Man Poetry Society, now treasurer, Bethany de Lee Runciman, and she told us about an event being held by the Isle of Man Poetry Society this evening, as you'll hear her saying, Thursday the 26th of March.
Well, our World Poetry Day event is on the 26th of March, a Thursday night at Douglas City Library. It's the usual format where we will have it's a bit like an open mic night. It starts at 7 o'clock, finishes at 8:30. We have a £3 entry fee and that goes towards refreshments. And yeah, the library are very good to let us use that space. So the theme, so there's always a theme for World Poetry Day, but it seems to be the theme as it was last year. It's actually poetry is a bridge for peace and inclusion, and given what's going on in the world at the moment, I think peace and inclusion is a good topic to use. Poets can come along and they can write a themed poem, or if they just bring along some of their own poems as well. If you've never done an open mic before, please just give it a go. The hardest bit is getting up and standing at the mic, but then once you're up there, and we're all very appreciative of what you write, so please come along to that. We have lots of regular poets as well who come to our open mics. So that's one World Poetry Day, but it's the 26th of March, a Thursday night at Douglas City Library.
A reminder there that event downstairs in the Douglas City Library is this evening, Thursday the 26th of March, starting at 7 o'clock. A chance to present some of your own work or to enjoy the work of others. Entry is £3 to cover the cost of refreshments, as the Isle of Man Poetry Society presents a special event in association with the recent World Poetry Day in Douglas City Library from 7 o'clock to 8:30 this evening. That poetry event is this evening, the 26th, but just to be cussed, let's go back a day, but we'll rather meander our way towards it. There's no historical or even biblical basis for celebrating Christmas on the 25th of December. There'd have been no lambs and no shepherds in fields abiding at that time of year. However, there were already observances associated with the winter solstice and midwinter festivities, so the Christian community sought to give them a context which meant that they could continue, but with a Christian theme. Prosaically, though, it was decided that the Virgin Mary's pregnancy would have been 9 months, and therefore the start of her pregnancy must have been on the 25th of March. So that was the day on which the Christian community celebrated Lady Day, the Annunciation, when the Archangel Gabriel came to Mary to tell her that she would bear the Son of God. In Manx, that's known as Lal Murren Asanish, the Day of Mary of the Whisper, or again, prosaically enough, as Lion Shiacht and Virgin Murra, the Day of the Messenger to the Virgin Mary. That event of the 25th of March came to be considered of such significance that it was made the first day of the year, rather than the change of the year coming as December goes into January. One result of that is that the judicial murder of William Christian, is often noted as taking place on the 2nd of January 1662-63. By the modern reckoning, the year 1663 would have started on the 1st of January, but at that time the year didn't change until the 25th of March, so the 2nd of January for them was still in 1662. Another perhaps unexpected result is that in one important area, Laa Murran Sanish is still regarded as the start of the year. Again, we have to be aware of the change from the old to the new calendar, which was deemed to have taken place by the removal of 11 days in 1752. If we add 11 days back on, from the 25th of March, it takes us to the 6th of April, and that's still used as the start of the financial year, as many people know from having to do tax returns. So there we are, the tax year, the financial year, still observes Shiaght Laa Murran Sanish, Lady Day, by the old-style calendar. The events of Laa Murran Sanish form part of An Hid Chabdil Jane Susjil Scrut Deg Nu Luke, the first chapter of the Gospel according to St. Luke. A sunsen cheo vi, van Einl Gabriel en a chort by G, gus Balia de Galilee, va enmisich Nazareth. Gus Morgan, Nash, Fristunya, enmisit Joseph, J. Tide David, as va enem of Morgan, Murra. As Henk en Einl Stiach is door te rie, de vanny duts tons uit voor, ten charn murt, banich ta wus mastem ren. The winner of the Sophia Morrison Award has recently been announced as Ned Hampton, a pupil at the Queen Elizabeth II High School in Peel. The award is made to the pupil who scores the highest marks in the Cheis Chaj in Rilgach, the GCSE equivalent qualification in the Manx language. Ned Hampton is a former pupil of the Bunskyle Rilgach, and he took the Cheis Chaj in Rilgach in Year 9, which is the third year in the secondary school, and he achieved an A star. As the winner of the award, Ned Hampton receives an engraved medal and a sum of £500, and his school, the QE2, also receives a trophy to display during the year. He's also asked to produce a piece of work in Manx. Bríoga Madrill is steward of Culture Vannin, the director of Culture Vannin, and she told me about the award, its history, and its significance for recipients.
This is the Sophia Morrison Award, and it's for young people under 18 who are doing the Teisc Caj in Gilgach, the GCSE equivalent for Manx, in the Manx language. And it's in memory of Sophia Morrison, who is well known as a Manx cultural activist, somebody who supported the Manx language as secretary to the Manx Language Society in Cheshire Gilgach, and somebody who really focused on encouraging young people. And the bequest that makes this possible comes from a relative of hers, so that's very nice. It's from the late Crellin Frost and Carol Frost, and Carol was a very good Manx speaker, and this is something that I think Crellin wanted to do in her memory, so that you would know that there's a great value to the Manx language. It's incredibly important to people here and people around the world, and it was incredibly important to him and to see that his family had been involved in really nurturing the language, and he wanted to nurture that for future generations. There's a brilliant team at the Department of Education, Sport and Culture leading on the Manx language, and every pupil has the opportunity to learn Manx, and that's a great thing. That's something that didn't happen when I was a child. This isn't just a trophy and a medal. There's prize money as well. And if you're a person get the prize money of £500, you write or produce a short piece in Manx. And that could be anything from a poem to a short story to just a small factual article. It could even be that you write a song. So that will be up to the individual. But then we can create a little anthology of the prize winners over the years, and that's something that Crellin really wanted to happen. So the things that people notice on your CV, on your university application if you're going to it, but also it's a language qualification that shows that you have studied and you've achieved a certain level, and it is equivalent to the other GCSEs, so there's a great value to it. I did GCSEs in physics, and I don't know very much about physics these days. So you do them because it's good for you to learn a certain amount of things at a time and to show that you can apply yourself and do that. But also it is a great advantage to other countries that speak more than one language. They're very interested in the fact that there's a Manx language here and that you, as a young person, have studied it to TCG, to GCSE equivalent. So I think it's a great strength, and it's sometimes the thing that marks you out as different that will mean that you will get that university place. One of my old next door neighbours was a very talented young speaker, and it was the thing that was noticed on her application and got her a place at the university that she wanted to go to. But also learning languages is incredibly brilliant for your brain. So if you learn one language, it's easier to learn another language, but it also helps you make connections between different sort of thought systems, really. And when you can get to the stage in a language where you can dream in it, you're really winning. If you have an understanding of different languages and different systems of thought, you can have greater empathy and you can understand how different people work and how different you can see somebody else's perspective. So I studied German at university, and I could understand a way that certain sets of German people can think and have thought for centuries, as I studied their literature and their music and their culture and their history. And it gives you a different perspective. And I think it's a wonderfully liberating thing to learn more than one language. And you'll find that most people in the rest of the world speak more than one language. People within the British and Irish Isles can think, oh, well, we only need to speak English. But actually, there are people who are speaking English and Punjabi or Bengali or Japanese or German or French or Polish. And most people have experience of more than one language. So it's something that you should embrace because it's great fun. It does mean that you can have a better relationship with people that you'll meet from all different backgrounds. And it's really worthwhile.
Steward of Culture Banning Bríja Madril, and the Sophia Morrison Award first presented to two recipients for their Shiaght and Gilgach results in 2022, Fiona Pearce of the QE2, who'd also been through the Bunscall Gilgach, and Elena Cayley of Ballacameen High School. The winner for 2023 was Matilda Watson, again of the QE2 and a former pupil of the Bunscall Gilgach. As we heard in Shiaght Laa last time, Matilda Watson has just been appointed as the 8th Manx Youth Bard, and the 3 poems she submitted for that were in the Manx language. For 2024 there were again 2 recipients, Fergus Quayle, once again of the QE2 and a former Bunscall Gilgach student, and Cara Ledley, who achieved a high grade in the Shiaght and Gilgach, but in her case wasn't an ex-pupil of the Bunscall Gilgach. Cara went on to study for the higher level Shiaght Gilgach as well. Moilia Solia de Ned Hampton. Congratulations to Ned Hampton as the recipient of the Sophia Morrison Award for his outstanding result in the Shiaght and Gilgach for 2025. Van Jean Trud Shan Hiernienen Temus, Shendagray Vinyl, as for Custjaugent and Kelly Recordings. Ren Recorder Kiernienen Shach Orlean, Quakers died Cochlais of Vinage, as the Mast Oxen, TT Hall of Fame, Yorish David Collister. As for the Hiernienen, Jai Orlean, Three Jeggers Feed Cochlais of Vinage, Yorish Manin Folk, as Mike Loriazal was the Jarrow Brian Maxdall, Lesharan and Beal Arish Manning, for Cloud Jeg Kelly Recordings, or Sublane Nike Jeg, 3 Feeders 3 Jeg. Marston a Fear Slew, na Queggers Dyden, Henk Meer Fair Enmesich, Manxland. In the late 1960s, Kelly Recording Studios were built in Duke Street in Douglas, the brainchild of Robin Kelly and Terry Clough. Their label was a very striking one, a red label with a large yellow 3 legs on it. One of those who made a recording for Kelly Recordings was Manx Radio presenter Alan Jackson, who presented a morning show on Manx Radio with the help of his Jolly Bodies from 1972 to 1978, and then again for a short period in 1982-83. Alan Jackson wrote a song which was really an advert for the island as a holiday destination. And it's interesting in referring to Ardrossan as one of the ports for sailings to the island, and it mentions 4 of the fleet. By chance, 2 of those names are in the current fleet. As you'll hear, it goes all round the island, and in fact it mentions Ramsey Pier. Well, the Ardrossan boat used at one time to call at Ramsey. Eventually, it manages to squeeze in Lovely Port St. Mary. So this is a rather crackly old 45, Alan Jackson singing his song Manx Land. The performance is credited to Alan Jackson and friends, and, well, the backing is a bit strident, to be honest.
Bright lights and pretty sights awaiting here for you. The Isle of Man's a place where there's so much to see and do. From Liverpool, Belfast, Ardrossan, across the Irish Sea, by a Mona's Queen, Manxman, Manxmaid, or Rhondda Macquarie, you will see bright lights and pretty sights awaiting here for you. The Isle of Man's a place where there's so much to see and do. Douglas has her tram cars, by horses they are drawn. At night time singing, dancing, if you want to, through till dawn. The hills roll down to the sea, the beauty's all around. Relax, enjoy the Isle of Man, from the airs down to the sound, where you'll see bright lights and pretty sights awaiting here for you. The Isle of Man's a place where there's so much to see and do. Has her beach so long, it's pier the longest too. There's Peel, the sunset city, Timble down the wildlife too. Across the ferry bridge there's Castletown with all its history. The picturesque Port Erin, the lovely Port St. Mary. The hills roll down to the sea, the beauty's all around. Relax, enjoy the Isle of Man, from the airs down to the sound. Bright lights and pretty sights awaiting here for you. The Isle of Man's a place where there's so much to see and do. Bright lights and pretty sights awaiting here for you. The Isle of Man's a place where there's so much to see and do, for me and for you.
An old recording of a song written and sung by Alan Jackson, extolling the virtues of the island as a holiday destination back in the 1970s. Cúirt a rau van mi golgus college Elian Vanning morbi ag an tre shen, son brastel an ni de inzige gilg, a sé dúlis a carige va stura a brastel shen. As hamigus brastel yes, va gul stura ljorish Adrian a Fergrin. Van mis bege ons dúlis, ach tre van mi jean son nubba tachert, les pert de gil gol, de menik verrid en gul kummel ons romza en ons pert ni hinja. Versla grij en rauw doelish few weg, na bottig peger bij vjoge korp maru. Van mi gooi soile jay golgus pert ni hinja som brasel vogel stura eg Lewis Krellin, as henk mi kwel immer die gilgeren through den brasel shen. As ons romza va caid out chit kwel James a Cowell, as Walter a Cleary, as Keert na Bill a Radler. Ach ni eishen as ul you Keert a rauw van gilger glaasjen ons doelish, as lie les slijtjes jach by een cheer de grekstu se burger. Ach, rowie guller Lord Master Cummelty gule sheen. This Friday, the 27th of March, there'll be the monthly meeting of the Isle of Man Victorian Society, and that's being held at 7:30 in St Andrew's Church in Glencrutchery Road in Douglas. It's free admission for members. Non-members are very welcome. There's a charge for them of £4. Noting that the learned figure in the history, development and grammar of the Manx language, the Reverend Robert Thompson, was a clergyman at St Andrew's Church, it's a very fitting venue for an illustrated talk by Paul Lewin, on what the census tells us of those who spoke Manx in 1901. Paul's talk is entitled, Was Manx to be Heard in Douglas? Rau Gilg Reclash Nuns Dúlish. In his talk, Paul will follow the census enumerator through the streets of Douglas, seeking out those who are identified as Manx speakers. And he'll also look a bit more closely at some individuals with interesting stories. There's parking on site at St Andrew's Church, and the doors open at 7:15, ready for that talk by Paul Lewin tomorrow evening, Friday the 27th of March at 7:30 for the Isle of Man Victorian Society. Rau Gilg Reclash Nuns Dúlish, Was Manx to be Heard in Douglas? There are two concerts to bring to your attention over this coming weekend. On Saturday the 28th of March at 7 o'clock, there'll be the 20th anniversary fundraising concert in the Abbey Church Hall in Ballasalla. Tickets for the concert are £15, and there are a couple of telephone numbers which I'll be giving you to book for that concert and supper. For 20 years now, the Abbey and Maloo parish players have been hosting fundraising concerts, and so far they've raised well over £10,000 for a whole range of causes. To mark their 20th anniversary, they're holding a music night and supper, and you can book tickets by calling Phil on 499 715 or Mark on 463 446. I'll give you those numbers again in a moment or two. For the concert, there'll be memorable music from the past 6 decades, and they have special guests joining for the night. And the event also includes supper. So, to book tickets for the 20th anniversary fundraising concert by the Abbey and Maloo parish players, call Phil on 499 715 or Mark on 463 446. And that concert and the supper will be held on Saturday the 28th of March at 7 o'clock in the Abbey Church Hall in Ballasalla. On Sunday the 29th of March at 3 o'clock, the Castletown Metropolitan Silver Band, the Mets, with their musical director Ian Astle, will be playing their annual fundraising concert for Castletown Methodist Church in Arbury Street. As well as the concert, there'll be light refreshments and a raffle. It's free admission, but of course the purpose is to raise funds for Castletown Methodist Church, so all donations will be gratefully received. That's 3 o'clock on Sunday afternoon, the 29th of March. That concert in the Castletown Methodist Church in Arbury Street by the Castletown Metropolitan Silver Band. and we've been hearing the Met St Stephen Ties arrangement of John Rutter's Gaelic Blessing. Sianea Shachir Shaw by Shiaght Laa. Just a little after Shiaght Laa can be heard next Thursday, the 2nd of April, it'll be the official opening of Shanachis Jew 2026. So there'll be lots about the festival this year and in the future in Shiaght Laa next time with Marilyn Crellin. But now from myself, Bob Carswell, Lucknish Von Peen, Robert de Karslach, Sledned.